Hey everybody, I know I've been gone for a while. I know, don't say it. Okay, we're doing the next 3 chapters of Game of Thrones. They are Ned and Jon and then Ned again. These are honestly like the hardest chapters in the book for me to get through. By the way, I just started the second book 2 days ago. So I'm trying to get through these so we can be caught up with where I actually am in the books. Ned goes to visit Maester Pycelle and they have a discussion over Jon Arryn's last days. By the way, this is where I started to notice like there's so much food happening. You all mentioned it before, like there's going to be a lot of food throughout the book, but like every single scene there's a big food. Like I'm wondering, was he hungry when he was writing this, or is that just like one of the things he really likes to add? That's a whole different conversation, but there's so much food. Ned is sitting with Maester Pycelle and they're talking about Jon Arryn's last days, and Ned's asking him, you know, was he acting weird? Was there anything you noticed about him? And the Maester says that the Maester Coleman, who is the person for, who is Jon Arryn's personal Maester for his house or whatever, was taking care of him at first, and that Coleman had been purging him, which makes you think, was he a good person or bad? Or was he working with Lysa, or what happened? Because either he was purging him to actually help him and it wasn't working out very well, or he was purging him to speed the process along. So it's kind of a friend or foe. Like you have to figure out where he fits into this whole thing. It's probably not helping at all. And Pycelle says that he thinks that it was probably poison. And he and Ned have a discussion and talk about the fact that poison is usually a woman's drug or a eunuch. Ned asks where the queen was, and Pycelle tells him that the queen and the kids were away with Tywin at the time, which he finds very convenient. Because why would you want to be around when you're poisoning someone? Pycelle also mentions that Arryn was saying the siege is strong and they thought he was talking about his son and whatever. We now know that that's not the case. But he kept repeating the siege is strong. Ned asks what Arryn was reading before he passed away, and Pycelle tells him it was the book of house lineages, and Ned wants to get a copy of it, or the copy of it pretty much, and Pye says that he'll send it over to him as soon as he can. So Ned leaves and he runs into Arya, having her scene where she's standing on one foot and trying to balance on the edge of the stairs, and she says that Syrio is having her, you know, it's basically for her to learn agility, and Ned's wondering whether or not he had made a mistake with having her train with him, because he's having her do all this crazy stuff. Like she said, next we're gonna chase cats, and he's like, what the hell? But Arya loves him, so he just let it be, and they have the conversation that was in the show. Two of them began talking about Bran and what his future is gonna hold and how he wanted to be a knight, and Arya asks if she can be a knight, and he says, no, you're gonna marry a knight or the lord of some great house and your sons will be knights. And she's like, that's Sansa, that's not me, I don't want that. And then she gets all mad and huffy, and Ned's like, well, god damn it, I tried. So he's frustrated. He doesn't know how to, he tries so hard to deal with her, but she just doesn't fit in as a girl in that world. That's not the stuff she wants. Littlefinger comes to visit Ned and asks him, you know, have you thought of asking his servants, Arryn's servants, what happened in the final days? Because there's some people here you could talk to. He gives him a list pretty much of people that he needs to hunt down. Littlefinger takes him over to the window and points out the spies for the queen and for Varys. He notably leaves out his own spies in this conversation. I don't know if Ned noticed that or not, but and Ned realizes that there are people everywhere watching him all the time and that he needs to be careful. Littlefinger asks if there's someone in his guard or whatever that he can trust completely, and Ned says yes, and Littlefinger's like, that's your biggest mistake, you don't trust anybody. At this point, even after Littlefinger says that, Ned kind of starts to trust him, which is stupid because he just told you not to trust anybody. They do have the conversation that, you know, that Ned does distrust Littlefinger, and Littlefinger says that's the wisest thing he's done since he came to court, but in the back of his mind, Ned's still kind of trusting him. What is wrong with you, dude? And that is the end of his chapter. So then we come to Jon, and Jon is practicing in the yard with the other guys, and Alistair's looking on, and Sam Tarly comes in, and he's bumbling about. He's huge. He doesn't fit in the armor. They had to like rig it so he could fit in it, and he looks ridiculous, and he's bumbling about. Alistair makes some fights. The big guy basically starts to beat him. John steps in to defend him, and then his two buddies, his backup, Pip and what's the other guy's name? I can't remember. Step in to defend him, and Alistair's all pissed about it. And Sam pretty much calls himself a coward. And they're like, who the hell calls himself a coward? Like, why are we even bothering to defend you if you're going to call yourself a coward? Later on that day, they're having dinner. Sam is sitting by himself. He doesn't even bother to try to join the group or anything. John feels bad for him. He goes over and sits with him. And they talk a little bit, but Sam, of course, is scared and feeling alone. So they go take a walk. John tells him about his dream of Winterfell and how he misses it. And Sam chimes in with, you know, I didn't like Hornhill at all because I hated it. My dad was an asshole and wanted to kill me because he didn't like me, pretty much. Sam was the only son, and he was being groomed to take over, but as soon as they had the younger son, Dickon, Sam was pushed to the side because he was soft and they couldn't toughen him up, and Dickon was more of a man's man. So he began to be groomed to become the head of the house, and that was when his dad told him, if you don't join the Night's Watch, I'm going to kill you. So those are your two choices. It was also interesting, like in the beginning of the scene, Sam trips and falls, whatever, and Ghost comes over to him and nudges him and likes him right away. So pretty much John trusted him from then. Sam kind of slowly becomes integrated in the group. John stands up for him and tells people not to touch him, and then the one asshole's like, if Alistair tells me to go up against him, I'm going to. And John and his two guys like wrestle him in the middle of the night and threaten him with ghosts in his face, like, don't touch him or I will come after you. And it was pretty cool after that. And then Sam started getting friends and joining in the conversation and laughing. And then John realizes that his uncle was right. These are his brothers. Feels at home here. They're family. And it's beautiful. Ned has another chapter. He is talking with the council about, with the tourney coming up, all these people are coming into the city and there's a little bit more disruption than usual. And they need more people with the King's Guard and all that because the town is getting all crazy. So Ned volunteers some people from his household. Whatever, he's sick of this mess. They start talking about Stannis and how glad they are that he's not there because he is not a stickler for any of that kind of stuff, and pretty much people will be killed. They close down all the brothels and kill people. Like, Stannis is not nice. But anyway, Ned's whole tired of the tourney talk. He leaves, and his guy Jory comes in and tells him about the conversations he had with the servants. And he mentions that Stannis was seen at a brothel with Lord Aaron, which is strange because they just had a talk about Stannis hating a brothel. So what the heck was he doing in a brothel, especially with the hand of the king? The two of them talk some more, and they decide to go to this stone master or whatever to go see why Lord Aaron went to go visit them, see why the hand went to go visit this place and see what the heck is up. As they are leaving to go into the city, they see Beric Dondarrion coming in and do a how do you do. They go to the stonemason, who's kind of reluctant to tell him information, obviously, because he's been paid not to, and you don't want to tell people secrets because they can get killed. But finally, he tells him that Aaron wanted to talk to Gendry in the back. Gendry's an ass. Ned goes over to pick up his hornhead helmet, and Gendry snatches it away like, that's not for sale. He's very, very rude. And the stonemason is very upset about this. They're talking a little bit more, and then Ned asks who was paying for his apprenticeship, because that never happens for free. There are plenty of guys you could have gotten from the city to come to be your apprentice, and yet this person's here. Someone had to pay for him, and he tells him that, you know, some guy. And pretty much he realizes that it's Varys who paid him for him to be this apprentice, and that this is Robert's bastard son. And that's it. Honestly, those 3 chapters were like the hardest for me. I don't know if you can tell because I'm like trying to push through this review right now, but like those 3 chapters are kind of the longest for me. Gets better after that. The next 3 are Catelyn, Sansa, and Ned, so we'll be doing those probably Wednesday. Probably Wednesday, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. But I'll have a lot more up this week, so you'll be seeing me a lot. Yeah, and that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.